from hiding. I found him. Fantasy Golf Man, Tim Frank. It's the last non-playoff event of the season, and it's one of your favorites.
For sure. I mean, the last 2 weeks, WGC Open Championship can't hold a candle to the Wyndham. Good classic short hitters course, terrible field. We're fighting for the playoffs. I mean, it doesn't get any better than the Wyndham. So yeah, this is one of the best weeks of the year.
Yeah, man, we missed you. You didn't miss much. It was the same old story. I recommended Jason Day and Rory, and all the same nonsense happened. Brooks won.
Yeah, it was. And
Sad.
I'm actually excited because I had the schedule messed up. I thought the Wyndham was last week, so Northern California is much better than talking about the WGC St. Jude. So
Can confirm.
Yeah.
Because I did the latter, so it wasn't great. I'm not a big non-cut guy. I actually got through it unscathed, believe it or not. But we don't really care about that. What we got on tap is the last week of the year, and it's the one where everyone will look at the FedEx Bubble Boy and assume that he will play well. And most likely he won't. But we do have that to look at. We've got a pretty bad field, and we're in Sedgefield down in, I believe it's Greensboro. It's definitely in the Carolinas. So
Yep.
not a bad event. One they play all the time. What do you make of it?
7,100 yard par 70 Bermuda greens, Donald Ross track. Gives the short hitters a chance. It's we've always said nowadays it's like every course is a bomber's course, but I mean this is one of the tracks where the short hitters will have a decent shot this week. It seems like if you look at the guys that have won here, Snedeker, Stenson, Siwoo Kim, Old Man Davis Love. We have Reed, Webb. Not a really demanding course off the tee. And I think if you think about some of those names, especially Snedeker, Reed, Webb, and even Stenson, who is accurate but not long off the tee. So not real demanding. I guess probably more emphasis on approach this week. It's a really easy course. There's going to be a ton of birdies. Minus 21, minus 22, minus 21. Those are the winning scores the last 3 years. And this is a par 70. So those are very low scores for this track. And a ton of eagles, too. The two par fives just give up a boatload of eagles. So even though there's only two par fives, they're extremely gettable, and they're going to give up eagles. So, we're looking at kind of the same things we look at Easy Birdie Fest, guys that can stick their approaches close. And, putting is probably going to be a little bit more important this week because you're going to have to make birdies to keep up. But yeah, just, kind of like a little bit like John Deere, I would say. Maybe not the track doesn't look the same and maybe not the same winners, but I kind of get that feeling of a birdie fest, a lot of short irons, guys making a ton of birdies, and you're going to have to go low.
Definitely going to have to go low. We saw Sneds last year, clock of 59 here, did some things. And like you said, it's a wedge fest. Off the tee, there's really no reason to be aggressive. You're not gaining much. So most guys kind of hit it out there, and then it is kind of a second shot competition. Stick it close, make your putts. You did just allude to that. We'll get into it with some specific guys, but this is just not the kind of course where hitting every green and missing all your 15-footers is going to get it done. You need to make a bunch of them because you're going to have a lot of them. And that's really rare. We got Chad already in good form. I respect some of these takes, especially the one about listening to us. That's the best one I've seen. But let's get right into it. Dear God, Webb is 11-2, Decky 10-9, Spieth, Morikawa, and Sneds. That is quite a big five, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's very interesting guys at the top this week.
It's insane. I mean, I'll get it out there right now. I get it. Webb is playing as consistent can be, and this is one of the best course histories for anyone anywhere. But if Webb is popular, and he is going to be popular, I'm not going to play him at 11-2. I'm just not going to do that. That's me. I think I can get away with it.
Yeah, I'm with you. A really strange spot. I mean, he comes in second last week, played good. The course history, as you said, I mean, second, third in 2018, 2017. In 2015, 14, he was sixth and fifth. He has a first. He has an eighth. He just crushes it here. But like you said, it just seems too expensive. I know he's playing great, but it's Webb Simpson. I mean, he's going to be, there's no doubt he's going to play well. He's been so consistently good. But I mean, for 11-2, I just don't know if he has that upside. Obviously, he can win, but that's just not you're not thinking Webb Simpson when you're thinking about shelling out 11-2. I think he's a good safe play, but with high ownership, and we'll get to some guys that are significantly cheaper than him that I think are really the same class of player, like a Paul Casey or something like that. So yeah, I'm not sold on Webb playing him in GPPs. It's just he's going to be high owned, and it just seems like a strange spot for him.
It really does. I get it in cash, but at the same time, you're paying so much for him. It's just a huge ask. And yes, he's playing great. He's also putting. I know he's improved his putting. It's a real thing. He's definitely taking himself into a very good putter. But nobody's this good of putter. He's gaining like 7 strokes putting every week. That's not going to continue. Maybe it does this week, but at that ownership, that is an immediate stand right off the bat for me. We've got your boy Hideki 10-9. I don't mind. Spieth is interesting. I'm not saying that I'm going there, but this course, you can get away with off the tee in the sense that it's not a huge deal. You don't have to be aggressive. But the problem is his misses are just all over the place. We saw in the non-cut, he was racking up birdies, but you can't avoid. He had multiple triples on a back nine. It's a tough ask to see him not blow up.
Yeah, I can't get there. I mean, just looking at the numbers last week, lost 3.5 with the ball striking. He was okay at the Open. I really didn't watch much of it. I have T20. I don't know how he got there, how he did that. But the ball striking, not good with him at all. And no, I don't think I can pay 10-6. I think, this is probably a better course for him than we've seen some of the other tracks. But to me, he's not even close. He had that run of 3 straight top 10s where it's all done with the putter. And then the putter came back to earth, and I can't get there with him. I'm sorry.
He says he's close. He's been saying that for like legitimately 18 months.
2 years now. He's right there.
He's felt in a long time, let me tell you. I'm pretty skeptical of it. I don't like a ton, though. I will say that I have no problem with Hideki. I just think he's the best player. Morikawa and Sneds, I'm somewhat indifferent to. Obviously, Morikawa's young. He picked up his first W last week. He's clearly a good player. And Sneds, we saw what he did last year here in his game. When you think about what he does well, this is the type of track that should suit him. But I'm not over, making it a priority to make sure that I get those guys in.
Yeah, I mean, Sned, it's the same thing every week with him. Huge winning upside, good course for him, but pretty inconsistent for a 10K golfer. I think Decky is very interesting at 10-9. We've seen the ball striking go up and down with him all year. Now it seems like it's on a bit of a downturn. The last 2 events, the Open Championship, he wasn't great. Last week at Memphis St. Jude, he wasn't great. But prior to that, he was amazing. And, for pivoting off of Webb, I have no problems with Hideki. But, there's guys in the 9K range that I think I like just as much as these dudes.
That's what I think a lot of people are going to do. And it seems pretty smart. We have names starting with Paul Casey. He's 9,800. And then, these are guys that have had not the best years, but they're clearly tour regulars and some of the top end. When you look at this field, you got Patrick Reed, Billy Ho, Hovland and Wolf, Ches and Sabatini, Neiman and Cam Smith. So there's a lot of names to unpack there. I'm going to pass it right back to you. I'll just say Patrick Reed, one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Just playing really good golf consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great spot for him to win. We've been talking about him for a couple weeks. He seems like he definitely found something with the ball striking. And we know he's got a great short game. So like the last 3 weeks, the approach game has just been on fire, starting at the Rocket Mortgage, 6.2, the 3M, 6.1. He was T10 at the Open Championship. We don't have strokes gained stats for that. And then last week, 2.1 on approach, but he was better off the tee. He gained almost 3 strokes off the tee. So ball striking's really come around, and we're just waiting for that putter. He's won here before. I think this is a good track for him. And I like Casey just as much. A little bit like Hideki came into the Open Championship, just amazing ball striking, playing very well. And then not a great performance there, T57. Not a great performance last week, but a lot of that was the putter. He gained 3 strokes on approach, lost 3 strokes putting. I think Reed and Casey are 2 of my favorite plays on the board. But Reed, I think he'll be popular. But boy, he just really seems like he's trending towards a W.
He does. 22-1 in the betting market. I've seen some people. Your boy Baroff, fresh off his double hit
That guy's he's on fire. He's got to put the flag bets behind the paywall.
Why not? Yeah, I know. Come on, BostonWall.com. Anyway, but I really think that Reed is trending upward. There's no reason to jump off now. The rest of the range, I'm not a big fan of Forshall. Casey's someone who I always think you can target. He's obviously shown more win equity this season than in years past, but he's always a consistent guy. And just to circle back from Decky, because Chad is asking, yeah, he's not a good Bermuda putter. But the one thing I will say, if you look at
he's not a good any putter.
That is also very true. And if you look at his course history here, 11th in 2018, 3rd in 2016, and he lost strokes putting in both of those. So it's not like he still can't get it done if it's not. And you have so much room if you get a hot putting week from him. So I'm willing to take that plunge if I pay up. I'll be honest, part of it is an opportunity cost in the sense I don't like the guys around him. And we have this 9K range that seems like a pretty good spot for some of these guys. I don't know what to make of Ches and Rory Sabatini. They seem overpriced. I know in a field like this, you can probably justify it. People calling him the real Rory, that's grounds for permanent dismissal from the show. But do you think you get there with those type of guys?
Hell no.
Yeah,
no
okay.
way. I mean, I don't think I've played Ches, and it's probably a testament to how well I've done this year, how poorly maybe. I don't think I've played Ches Reavie or Rory Sabatini maybe at all this year.
Me neither.
I mean, if I was, I would go Hovland at 9,500, who's been lights out. Yeah, he really is. I mean, he's been so good. I guess my only concern is with him is I feel like now that Morikawa and Wolf have won, I feel like people are going to expect him to be the next one to win here in the next couple weeks. And I don't know if that's really realistic. I don't think those other two guys winning have any bearing on Hovland. I don't know how popular he'll be, but I'd prefer him over Ches or Rory Sabatini for sure.
Hovland, the one thing, and this is kind of Rahm-esque, I'm not sure how many speeds he has in the sense that he's very aggressive off the tee, and I don't know how much that'll help him here. So, his short game is not good. It hasn't been good so far. Maybe he can improve that. But Hovland off the tee he's in the top tier. You can just tell the way he hits it. As gross as this sounds, Cam Smith, flat 9K, 3 straight quality weeks. He was good at the Open. He was solid at the WGC last week, and he's another one. His game is great if he can survive off the tee. And if this course allows him to club down, maybe he can get it going and kind of go into the playoffs on kind of a heater.
I dislike Cam Smith a lot. I mean, he's like a poor man Snedeker, I think.
Yeah, homeless.
Yeah, the putter can get hot. The approach game can be solid. If you can just survive off the tee and get the other two things working, he's good. But yeah, I don't think I'll get there, to be honest.
Wow. I'm going to be on Cam Smith Island, and that he made the cut, considering how bad of year he had. He made the cut at all the majors and the players, one of only a couple guys, and I think he was like 60th in all of them. Basically.
Yeah, his best finish at any of those events was like T60. So.
Yeah, it's very bad, but it's not a ton. Like I said, I may look to him. I don't have a strong take on Neiman. We know he can get going, but he's another candidate. He's got to make some putts. He goes ice cold with the putter, and that can be somewhat deadly. And man, now we get right into your wheelhouse because we got Alex Noren talk. CH3 and Noren and Glover lead off the 8K range. What say you, as we work down guys like Hadwin for Telly in there as well?
Yeah, Noren's interesting, but the problem that I have with him is he's done so much of it with the putter and around the green. You look at his last 3 events. He was T12 last week, T11 at the Open, and then T26 a few weeks prior to that. But a lot of it was done on and around the greens, and that's just really hard to rely on. He's not doing it in a fashion that really piques my interest or makes me think that things are turning around for him. Kind of a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and he's not that cheap, 8,800. Keimer is really interesting. I don't know, 8,600 doesn't seem like a great price, but he's playing so much better. He's made his last 6 cuts, all T35 or better. He was good at Memorial, won at Pinehurst, another Donald Ross track at the U.S. Open a few years back. And I mean, it's been such a long layoff for him, but I mean, this is a former elite player. I don't know. What do you think about Keimer?
Keimer's interesting to me, actually, in my opinion, a better bet than DFS play. I worry about the floor. We know the guy can win. We've seen him win a hell of a lot stronger fields than this. As you said, major winner, and can come out of nowhere. More in Europe, but we've seen times where he's had no form and then he just wins. So I like him kind of in the betting market. I do worry about just the cut equity. He is playing better though, so maybe that will be mitigated. I'm going to go to bat for Noren, though. I really am.
All
He
right.
needs another one. He's hovering around the 125. And I'll say, he was 11th at the Open. He was very good. Last week, yeah, you look and the approaches were bad. But I will say some of that, and it's not to say these weren't good shots, but some of it is due to water balls. He had at least a couple in the drink. Everything else was
We
good.
just don't count those, huh?
No, that was what can I believe me, I saw it Sunday when I needed him to not make triple bogeys and he could not do that. I think that the off the tee game right now, he's gained in 7 straight, some massively. We know he's a very get it going, and Noren can return to where we used to see him, which is up top in some strong field events. He almost had a tour win last year. I think he can compete.
I don't know. I don't think you sold me on him, man. I know.
That's the best I can do. There's not much else I can say for this guy.
Do we love Noren at a birdie fest though? He seems like a guy more suited for a harder track. You think last year Honda, Torrey Pines, I think he played very well, and there was one other place. I don't know.
He almost wanted Farmers. Another, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
so a couple, more difficult tracks, but yeah.
uh,
Not for me this week. I mean, I'm the original Noren truther. I think last year I was like just trying to will this guy to a win. It never quite came, but
that is a fair point. I certainly don't think of him when I think winners 22 under. Who is it? Noren usually don't make 22 birdies, so it's difficult for him to get to those numbers. Lucas Glover is there. He's a guy obviously can get crazy hot with the irons. I don't know. I still lean to Noren, to be honest. I'd rather take a shot there. Fratelli's got that win. Benny on. Here we go. 8,200. Do you worry about him not being able to make enough putts?
yeah, for sure at a birdie
Okay,
fest, it just seems like a tough ask for him. I mean, some guys just feel doomed, and he. Sorry, Hatch man, but
yeah.
Benny just I don't think this is the week for him.
I I always have a soft spot for him. Obviously, he's made some strides, especially in majors. He's looked really good. I think I'm going with Sunjay Im though, right above him. Who another polarizing guy when you break down the stats. We know he's played a ton on tour this year, starting to get back into it. He had a miscut at the Open, but I don't worry about that. The irons have regressed a little, and that's scary, but everything else checks out immensely, and I don't worry over the top that he has a giant problem. So I'm willing to roll the dice on him at 8,300.
Yeah, I don't mind him, and I feel like some of these guys, especially younger players that were playing well and they went to the Open and missed the cut. That's you can almost throw that out. Just a different, different type of golf, tough environment, travel, all that stuff. So him and even with Neiman, I don't love Neiman, but another guy who was playing well missed the cut at the Open. I don't put too much stock into that. And these young guys that went over there, maybe playing in their first Open and missing the cut. So yeah, I could get behind some Sung Jae this week.
He's just a guy, like I said, we've seen a ton from him. He hit a little lull and then kind of regained that form. So
he plays so much. He's had like multiple like ups and downs.
It's a full career it's absurd. The guy played 30 events. Just massive. He's next to other guys in this range, Scott Piercy and Kokrak. That's a no for me, dog. Anything else before we bounce out of the 8K range? I mean, these are some talented guys. We kind of glossed over Hadwin, but no one that really stood out for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't love this range. A lot of guys in the mid to upper sevens that I like, probably even more than this 8K range, honestly.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's keep it going then. We got, because people want to talk about Sepp Straka, another fantasy golf man favorite, and we can do that soon enough. We kick off the sevens with Martin Laird, Aaron Wise, dear God, Russell Henley, Kyle Stanley, Sepp Straka. There's a lot of names here. I'll just pass it right to you. I mean, let's start with Sepp Straka. What do you think?
I mean, I love him. The problem is the putter.
Big problem.
That's a big problem. But damn, the off the tee, the approach game are so good. He was 12th at Barracuda last week, gained like 12.6 strokes with the ball striking, which is off the charts. He was very good at the Barbasol, the ball striking 8.9 there. John Deere was T25, but I mean, he will gain, even on a bad week, he's going to gain off the tee and on approach. And he's been good. So yeah, I like Straka at 7,700, but there's like three guys in this area that I think are all playing really well. Martin Laird, have you looked at Martin Laird's ball striking lately?
Party Marty, man. He's a player. Yeah. He goes through spurts. Another guy who can get cold with the putter. I like him more at desert tracks. I know he's a Vegas guy, and I tend to get that in my head, but at the same time, he really, really has been striking it. And I could see myself getting there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 4 really good weeks in a row. T7 last week, T6 the week before the Barbasol. I mean, these aren't great fields, but the stats are really good. Gained 5.7 with the approach last week at Barbasol. Gained over 6 strokes off the tee and on approach. Same thing at the John Deere. Same thing at the 3M. I mean, we're looking at over 6 strokes off the tee and on approach for like 4 consecutive weeks. Very good for me for 7,900. Henley, I like Henley this week. I'll actually like him a lot. So we kind of broke it down before the John Deere. He had turned it around the week prior, even though he missed the cut. Very good ball striking, just awful putting. Goes to the John Deere, was lights out, finished T2, and then he was T15 again last week at the Barracuda. Gained 4.5 with the ball striking. Now we're back on Bermuda, which is his preferred surface. He's won at Sony. He's won at Honda, both par 70s, both Bermuda tracks. I like Henley a lot this week.
Famous last words. It really is, but it's hard not to. Obviously, this is a guy that I was way too early on. I rode it through the miscuts. Then you sharply jumped on at the right time. How we both didn't smash the Fratelli Henley exacta for 1,000,000 to 1, I'll never know. But that's neither here nor there. Clearly, the stats check out. In this field, kind of feels underpriced. I understand there's some bad data in there because he had a rough year, but lately it looks pretty good. Streelman probably the prudent play if you're looking for safety. But yeah, the Barracuda was a real event. That's debatable in itself. And then as we work down, so we got another guy that people definitely are interested in, this Doc Redman fella. He's someone that burst on the scene. Then he was, I thought, one of the easier fades when he made that immense water ball the next week. Now he's kind of settled in. We don't have a ton of data to go off of. Obviously, he was very impressive at the Open. Do you see yourself getting there, or are you just going to let other people chase that?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get there with him. It's not really anything against him. I just think it's a loaded range. I just listed off 3 guys at 79, 78, and 77 that I really like. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to get there with Redman.
Oh, it's a loaded range, all right, because also at 7,600 would be Bill Haas. Noted Wyndham specialist, Carolina guy, Wake Forest guy, loves this course. Obviously, in recent years, the results haven't been good because he's just not good. But lately, I will say, at John Deere, he did fix the ball striking. That was not, let me get it up on my screen. Yeah, John Deere, 5.8 with the irons. Very impressive from my man. I don't mind him. 7,600, I think he's just fine here.
You know what Bill Haas does not like? The Stableford scoring system. He does not a fan of that at all.
No. He likes to keep it steady with bogey-free, birdie-free, double bonus rounds. That is a problem. But this is a guy, obviously, that we know can get crazy hot with a putter. It's just the off-the-tee game. It worries me. He's also not that good. Another deterrent when you look at him. Clearly not the upside guy, but as a mid-range, couple percentage points, I could look to him. There's a slew of guys right below this as we get into the mids that I don't really have a ton to say about. When you're talking about Grace, Kyle Stanley is in there, Russell Knox. Do you have a priority list for these guys or just splashes?
Um, I've been playing Stanley a lot. I think I'm going to continue to play him here, 7,700. It hasn't been doing anything great, but just kind of seemed to turn it around. And maybe we can, I would say, get on him early. I've been on him for like 5 weeks in a row. He hasn't done anything spectacular, but I would probably like him out of all those guys that you mentioned. But he's way behind a guy like Henley for me, who, Henley, I legitimately think can win the tournament. When you're talking about guys like Laird, Straka, the stats are good. They've been playing well, but they don't feel like they have the same win equity as a guy like Henley. But yeah, I'd put Stanley in the mix with Laird, in the mix with Straka, and probably ahead of some of these other guys like Haas, Doc Redman,
Knox.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a great course for him, but he hasn't played well, and he just hasn't been doing too much lately. Not awful, but nothing that's really catching my eye.
Knox kind of reminds me, not in game, but just when you look at the year, kind of like Daniel Berger, where he's actually making cuts, but it's not doing anything. Knox is coming off 4 straight, but I don't see a ton. The irons have been good, and maybe it's gonna click. I would assume he'll make my player pool, but I hope I don't have to leverage a ton to get overweight, just because I don't really see it. And maybe I look to someone like Duffner, like Grace, even though they're certainly down on the list. I think for me, Henley, if I had to pick one guy in the upper sevens, I think like most people, it would be Henley because of the recent form and the Bermuda splits that we know are a real thing with him.
Yeah. Is he going to be popular? Is he like the chalk high 7K
That's something
guy?
Obviously tomorrow night me and Jason Rosen will dig into. I have a feeling people will look and they'll see, coming off the 2 good finishes, this price, this range, there's not a ton there. I mean, I don't think Laird, I don't think garners a ton. Streelman always gets a bit, but there's not that much in there. And then as we work down, I mean, I think the low sevens could be somewhat of a dead range. Chat mentioned Bud Cauley. I think that's interesting. Berger is there. He's outside the 125. He'll probably get a medical. Not that really matters for what we're talking about. And then there's guys Biergard, Poston, Denny McCarthy, these Charlie Hoffman, dear God.
Your boy JT Poston.
Yeah, he's another one who his irons are somewhat suspect at times. But in the field like this, Wyndham Clark, who's the guy that you and me seem to never understand, that's where we really start to get into the murkier side of this field.
Well, Wyndham Clark, good putter, that's good, but good off the tee and terrible irons. That's
terrible.
Right, bad option. I always like Corey Connors, 7,100. To get that,
you really do.
I'm sorry, man. To get that ball striking for 7,100, he's elite. I mean, off the tee and approach is elite. Everything else, terrible. But I'll take it for 7,100. He was pretty decent last week. T27, gained almost 6 with the ball striking. Missed the cut at the Open Championship. Again, elite ball striking at the 3M. I mean, some weeks it clicks, some weeks it doesn't. I like him. You know who turned it around the last 2 weeks? I don't really like him, but he was dead and buried. And the last 2 weeks, not good finishes, but the approach game has been good.
Steele?
Brendan Steele, yeah.
Oh, baby.
I don't love him this week. I think there's other guys I'd rather play. I just thought it was interesting. He was a guy that I had totally written off, and he has just had an awful year. But yeah, the approach game was great at the Barracuda. The ball striking was great at the 3M. The putting was awful both weeks, but I just thought that was interesting. Probably a little late. Not a good course for him, and I don't think we'll be seeing him after this week.
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't love the course. Brendan Steele is a golfer that I like to play. I think he's a damn good player. Obviously, this has not been the year for him. Not sure this is the spot. I would love for it to be. Malnati's there, and I saw chat mention him. I'll say this. We talked about he had a stretch where he was actually striking it great, and the putter, not that it was leaking, but it was about 0. And for him, that's a big problem. So for Malnati to get in the mix, he needs to start gaining, 5-6 strokes putting. I know that seems like an outlier, but he's more than capable of doing that because the ball striking has kind of returned to just being average at best. and that's really what he is. So I like him, but he needs to get hot on this Bermuda, and he can do that. That's his preferred surface. He's one of the best putters on tour.
I just got so sick of following Malnati. It was like 5 weeks in a row of me just hammering Malnati, thinking that that was the week.
And we got the ball striking, the hard part. Like, the putting was supposed to be the easy translatable thing with him.
He's getting progressively worse. T29, T46, T56, T73.
It's scary. Do you see a Henley-like resurgence from Charlie Hoffman?
No, that's your guy. You're going down with that ship, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the ship is, I don't know if I need to, it's just sunk it's not good. Even at the Open, like, he came out, he was doing some things, and then just nothing. And I don't expect him to compete there, but you look at it, and it's all over the map. The only thing that is consistent is he can't putt. You're playing in the big $5 or something. I get having him in the portfolio, but you could say that about 100 guys in this field. I don't think that's really useful. So I'm not going to chase that. I'd rather roll the shares to some of the guys we talked about. Last guy I want to mention in the sevens, JJ Spawn is flat 7K. He's someone that I think this is a good course for. He's not a long hitter. Played here a couple years ago and was very solid, top 20. I have just no problem going to him as one of your last man in.
Yeah, I always like Spawn. Wasn't great last week. Approach was okay. And yeah, good course fit. He's just kind of, we'll put him in the same boat as Berger, as Knox.
It's quite
making cuts, not doing anything great, but we always love Spawn, especially at a short track like this.
Chat wants to know, any Siwoo Kim love? He's lost in 7 straight with the irons massively in most of them, so that's just a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's intriguing when he has these pop-up weeks that are really good, but you have to see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. And you just, I mean, it's been, I have his last about 7 or 8 finishes here, and they're all missed cuts except for a T41. I mean,
and it's all bad irons. It's not even like,
right. He's the guy you want to play him where it's like T4, cut, T11, cut. Like you're seeing every once in a while he's mixing in a good event. He's just, I don't know. He seems lost right now.
If you're playing him, you're literally, the only reason I see doing it is you're saying this guy can go out and win anytime he tees it up. And he's shown that he can do that. But that is just, it's pretty hard to get there on that. You're just banking on randomly striking gold with him more often than not. It's not someone that I'm going to go to. Last man, and then we can move on to the egregious side, is another Canadian, not Corey Connors, Roger Sloan. He had a nice stretch at the 3M and the John Deere, gained across the board. What about this guy? It's a pretty informed golfer.
Yeah, he's playing really well.
Really well.
7th, 10th, 15th, and 21st are his last 4 starts. Yeah, I mean, you could get the Canadian duo. You get Connors and Sloan as your last 2 guys in. I mean,
we didn't even get to Svensson.
I mean, yeah, good luck getting Svensson and Connors through the cut here, which will probably be like -6.
Yeah, double-digit cut. But it'll be good for Slack because when it's these easy cuts, everybody thinks they're doing good. It's like, oh, all my guys are -3. It's like, yeah, that's actually terrible.
Yeah, it's a great confidence builder till you realize that -2 is a terrible score.
Yeah, I always get sucked into that trap. Anyway, yeah, Roger Sloan, I totally see it. Other people are going to go to him, and obviously it remains to be seen how good Roger Sloan is. He's playing great right now, but if you look at his, brief history on tour, it's basically pretty bad finishes or missed cuts. He had, I think, a second. Where was that? Punta Cana? No, Puerto Rico. So not a ton to go off of, but man, he's got a good stretch right now. Anyone else before we knock on the Robert Streb 6,900 door? Or should we?
No. I mean, Bryce Garnett kind of piqued my interest a little bit. The ball striking has been consistently good for 4 straight events, but nothing special. I think we've listed quite a few guys, and I don't know if I would put him ahead of any of those guys, but he's been consistently okay. I'll say that.
I mean, fields like this are always tough because the lack of win equity up top. it brings a wide net in. Like, I would not be remotely stunned if one of these Jagaloons won the tournament. I mean, it's not like where you have 5-6 guys up top that win a ton on tour every year, and it's hard to get past them. I mean, Morikawa's won last week for the first time. Spieth is broken. Decky hasn't won all year. Webb is not exactly a winner, and Sned's, he could easily miss the cut the way he plays. Obviously, he's got some win equity, so it's not murderer's row. Just to segue back, and then I do want to say, as I say every week, if you haven't signed up for Mostimo.com and you want to join the team, obviously we'd love to have you. Promo code JazzRaz. The season's winding down, yet the season is also starting up. Golf really never ends. The swing season will be coming. Obviously, we have the other sports, NFL. We're doing a ton of content. Go check that out. I'm writing team previews with Nolan Kelly. We're doing a lot of other things. On that side, college football will be here. I will be gambling like a fiend on that, so I expect people to rip those bad takes when we get there. Man, this 6K range, not surprising, is pretty weak. I don't see a ton. I mean, is there guys that you're willing to go? I see a couple that I'll get into the pool, but no one I want to really jam in.
Yeah, not really. I think Burgoon is interesting. He was T5 last week. He's made 5 straight cuts in a row. The approach game was really solid at the Barracuda. Good ball striking at John Deere, 3M. The approach game was good at Rocket Mortgage. So he's been striking it well. I think 6,900 is a decent price for him. If I had to go down here, he would be one of my targets, but he's not a guy that I'm really, looking to get in. He's kind of a last guy in type of thing.
What about potentially popular Ryan Armour? 2 really good results here in the past couple of years. He's always a kind of consistent guy. He feels cashy to me. I don't know what to make of it, though.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, it's a good course fit for him. Obviously, as we've seen the last 2 years, T8 and T4. It just really hasn't done too much lately, and I think that people are going to see those 2 finishes. And to me, that's great that he has top 10s 2 consecutive years here, but it doesn't mean a ton to me. He just hasn't really had a ton of upside. I mean, quite a few missed cuts, quite a few T45s, T54s, so I think he's a pass for me.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I said, I almost get it in a cash sense because he's a kind of consistent player, but I'm not sure. I am sure that those results in the past couple of years are not indicative that he's going super low here and he garners some interest. I don't think I'm going to do that. People are dropping Chase Wright. That's Hatchman. I would do. I've
never even heard of that guy.
Yeah, that sounds made up. KH Lee, Taylor Gooch, obviously, this is a perpetual thing that we always say. When you can strike the ball like him, you're going to be in play. His irons are one of the best on tour. The rest of his game is not that great, but you have that out. Every time he tees it up, he could gain 8-10 strokes with the approach.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys he won't be highly owned, can get new caught with the irons, and kind of a GPP sprinkle every week if they're not popular.
I think Chase Wright broke Fantasy National. I can't even click on that guy's name. That's quite down there. I will say 6,300, and you're disrespecting the Lahiri goat, who's also at that price. Do you see yourself going to Brian Gay? Obviously, he was right in the mix last year. He fits this course. He's a very good putter, not a great ball striker. It's been, average at best lately from him. Not going to lean on him at all.
No, I don't think I'm going there. Good course fit. Like you said, irons, putter, not long off the tee. Obviously, one of the shortest players around. But yeah, he just hasn't been doing it this year. Boy, Nick Taylor at 6,800 would be a guy I would look to. Just been consistently playing pretty decent. Was T8 here last year, but I'm not in love with him. Roberto Castro is another guy who we both like. Hasn't been doing anything great, but for 6,500, I think that's a good price for him. Decent course fit for him. He's been playing okay, has a pretty decent course history. This isn't a ringing endorsement, but I mean, for 6,500, I don't know. I don't know what you're looking for, but yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I could go to at 6,500. But yeah, I'm not in love with any of these guys down here.
I think you want to tread lightly. Like I said, we're throwing out some flyers. I don't see a ton, and I think there's a massive drop, not only in win equity, because when you're down here, you're not asking for win, But look at things like top 10, even top 20 odds. If you have a book, check those out. And you do want to use that in your process. I think it's important to recognize where there's a big difference in some of these guys getting in the mix and others that won't. Sang-Moon Bae, will he ever get back into the top 50? I don't know. The military engagement really didn't do him any favors. All right. So Chad has mentioned this guy, and I believe you tweeted about this guy. I don't know who this guy is. Who's Charlie Danielson?
Oh man, he is the key.
Moment?
This is just going to be a print fest this week. If we're playing Charlie Danielson.
Yeah, sounds legit at 6,100.
I mean, he's 6,100. He's basically free. 4-time collegiate All-American. T7 last week at the Barracuda, gained 10 strokes with his approach. T15 at the 3M, where he gained 7.4 strokes with the approach. Yeah, I played in the U.S. Open, made the cut, wasn't great. But the irons have been on fire. He has legitimate collegiate pedigree. It's basically he hasn't been great off the tee, but you don't need to be great off the tee here. And the irons have just been nuclear hot for the last 8 rounds. I really, really like him this weekend. I thought he'd be more expensive than this because he has amateur pedigree. This isn't some no-name guy. I mean, he was a very good collegiate player. And yeah, at 6,100, I'm definitely in on Charlie Danielson this week.
Okay. I'm looking at him right now. He's from Wisconsin. That's what I got. So, I mean, obviously we don't have a ton of data. 2 things that you can say. You summed it up nicely on the stat side. If there's a guy to target down there, you want the leaks, quote unquote, to probably be off the tee. I think that's the easiest one to get away with. If you've got major iron problems and you're in this price range, it's probably a bad sign. Obviously, and this is, he's 6,100 for a reason. But at the same time, if you play him and he makes the cut, you're going to have salary to really do some creative builds up top. And although I think most people are going to go balanced in the sense of starting in the 9s, say you want to be really aggressive and take like a Decky Sneds. This is a way to do it. And if you strike that lightning in a bottle up top, you really are only asking these guys to hold on. So hot form. And in a tournament like this, the opportunity is there. Couple more. We'll give a little betting spiel and then we'll get out of here. Tour winner Adam Long. Any thoughts on him? He's another guy that Chad seems to be pretty into at 6,500.
I mean, yeah, he's decent. He's played okay. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats. Nothing really seemed to jump out at me.
He didn't catch my eye either. He was 24th last week, but keep in mind, it's a 63-man field. He didn't do a ton, and we've seen him. I was actually pretty impressed with his year after the win. Not that it's been rock solid, but at the same time, he's been in the top 20 here and there. He was decent at Travelers. I don't really have a strong stance. You have Chesson Hadley there, Roberto Castro. These guys are both, they're not playing well, especially in Hadley's case. But I will say I like their games to this course. And I tend to lean on that. They're can get hot with the irons. Scrambling's not a huge deal. I may go there if I have to. But again, I don't want to be living in the 6K range with these teams.
No, not at all.
And now that we have Charlie Danielson, do we really, who cares about the rest of these guys? Am I right?
Oh, yeah. You just play 100% Charlie Danielson, and then, I don't really see how you could lose after that. It doesn't even matter who you play.
Holy smokes. Man, I like that. I respect that Chad has come out with just people. Nicholas Lindheim, that is definitely the first time either of us ever said that person's name on the show.
Person in chat, what do they see in Nicholas Lindheim? Some of these guys, it's like I wonder how they get how they pop in somebody's quote unquote model. I don't know.
I play Curtis Luck occasionally, so I really have no grounds to say much. What I'll tell you about Lindheim, and then we'll go to the betting world, is that what I've been told about him, what I've observed in my limited Nicholas Lindheim, is that he's supposed to be a world-class putter. That's what I've heard. I played him on occasion, but you look at the form, I honestly would rather play Charlie Danielson, just based off what I'm seeing. I don't see it.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Well, I like to.
You made it sound like it was like, that's not.
Yeah, a 60-40. You got to always leave yourself out. So I don't have enough, strength. to weather the Twitter storms like you do. I got to leave myself outs when Nicholas Lindheim is just tearing it up. But overall, Chad, honestly, I think if I say this every week, look down here, maybe a couple flyers if you go aggressive. I think it's probably not a good move to have a bunch of guys in this range regardless. I don't see the merit. Pick a couple, go with it, and you hope they make the cut and find the weekend for you.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't see it with Lindheim.
I mean, the ball striking at Chad. I mean, these are fair points. I see he's playing a little better. But a lot of guys you can draw. You got to just make a selection. How many 6K guys am I really going to need? Yeah, 1 or 2 shares. Absolutely. If you have a big portfolio, I respect the hustle. Plus, your street cred goes up immensely if he plays well. You always have to think about that at the same time. But any bets for you on the Wyndham?
Yeah, Henley, 66-1. This
Okay.
is it. This is the week. Bovada's scared of me. They don't want to put a number up on Charlie Danielson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to get crushed. So
you can bet him in the top. He's probably got very good top 10, top 5 market.
Oh, no, we're going you're straight outright. We're just going loading up.
You're not first, you're last. Yeah, I bet Noren. Not gonna lie. So you can burn that money.
See, that's why you were defending him so vigorously.
I saved that for the end. Yeah, I bet Noren. I bet a string of horrible people. I bet Noren, I bet Patrick Reed, and I bet Cam Smith. So just players that they all kind of have that crafty around the green game. Obviously, Patrick Reed is just better than the other two. I think he's a serious threat to win. The other two are just flyers that are starting to get the game together. But anything else is Hovland, Morikawa, and Wolf in the same lineup. Fair game. I'm not going to do that, but of course, they're all very good players. I'm just not on Wolf this week at all. I think there's other guys in the 9K range that I like. Any final thoughts on the Wyndham before we get ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a good week to go balanced. And this is one of the courses where I kind of take account into course fit into account, maybe a little bit more. You know, we've seen this course. They've played this event here for years. It seems like we have a good feel for what type of players do well off the tee. Not very important. Approach, really important. Putting, somewhat important. You know, it's going to be a birdie fest, and I think you have to take that into account. I don't play the same players at the Wyndham that you play at the U.S. Open. If you think the winning score is going to be 20 under, I think that brings different players into the mix than if you think the winning score is going to be 8 under. Yeah, so I take that into account quite a bit this week.
That is one thing that, with my pool specifically, it could be a leak. It's something that I need to be better at. Because guys like Noren in particular, it's not like they can't do it. It's just another obstacle because they're just naturally inclined to grind out minus 11 in a tournament. And here, and I've said this before, the web.com mentality really serves you well because those guys attack constantly. They're used to going at flags. They're used to knowing that you have to shoot 7 under just to find the weekend. Whereas some guys on tour are used to playing away from flags, 2-putting, and getting in with a 68. Yeah, well, he's don't hate. FedEx Cup champion Bill Haas. Put some respect from the water.
Nobody gets up and down from the water like Bill Haas.
That strokes gained water, Bill Haas, top of the list. Yeah, Bill Haas really. There's no defending his 2 birdies, 1 bogey rounds where he just gets no streaks.
Yeah, if he makes a bogey in the first 36 holes, he's done. There's no way he can.
He might not. He could be the first player probably ever to give you 2 bogey-free rounds through 36 holes and then he misses the cut. I'm not sure he'll make enough birdies, but obviously, Chad, it's been a long and at sometimes rocky year, but it's not over yet. Like I said, it's golf. FedEx Cup is a good time. It's a little different, but we're going to break into the strategies. There's certainly edge to be had, and I do like that time of the year. Are you a FedEx Cup guy?
I totally forgot about the Tour Championship and what they did to it this year.
Well, that's going to be – I don't know what to make of that. Obviously, I think like most things that are new, there's a lot of stupid people out there. You're looking at 2 of them.
I was going to say here.
Yeah, me as well. But there's definitely going to be a way to exploit that, and we'll try to learn that together on this show because I have a feeling people aren't going to understand the new format. and do some really, really dumb things about it. So it'll be interesting couple weeks.
It's going to be exactly like how I've exploited the match play on DraftKings the last 2 years by doing very strategic lineups that are terrible.
Yep, we get it right and just still wrong because Molinari trumps having everyone in the right quadrant.
Yeah.
What can you say? We do our best, but as I always say, if you can hit the like button, we would really appreciate it. And I hope you'll stick with us, not just through golf, obviously with the other sports. We're going to get out of here. Obviously, thanks to Tim tomorrow night. Me and Jason Roslin. Chad, I hope you come back with more questions. We'll have more concrete answers on ownership, on leverage, on lineup construction. And we will try to go into the FedEx Cup playoffs with some momentum on this side. Plenty more golf to come. If you have any questions, find us in Slack, find us on Twitter. Good luck, everyone. It's been fun. We'll be back next week for the FedEx Cup, and we will see you then. Take care.